One rainy evening, one accidental meeting, and the beginning of a story neither of them saw coming. Welcome back, my wonderful family and friends. If you're tuned in and ready to dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Tomorrow, I'll be bringing you another exciting story you definitely don't want to miss. So, let's get started. It was only a glance, just a fleeting moment, but something about her unsettled him. Maybe it was the way her smile carried warmth despite the rain, or the subtle fragility in the way she shook off her soaked coat. Martha approached the counter, fumbling with her purse to grab some change. Do you have a table? I just need to wait a few minutes? She asked, voice soft but firm. Kane stood instinctively, offering a seat across from him. You can join me, he said, unsure why he felt compelled to do so. The cafe was cozy, the air scented with fresh pastries and coffee. Outside, the rain drummed against the windows, turning the world into a blur of movement. Inside, for a brief moment, it felt like time slowed. They exchanged small talk, names, jobs, trivial pleasantries. Yet every word carried a subtle electricity. Kane noticed how Martha's hands trembled slightly as she stirred her coffee. Martha noticed how Kane's eyes softened whenever he laughed at her jokes, even the clumsy ones. Hours passed without either noticing. A casual "do you mind if I leave?" was lost amidst shared smiles and tentative conversation. Then, as the rain finally eased, Martha's phone buzzed. Her meeting had been rescheduled, but she froze when she saw the time. She had to leave. I should go, she said, standing quickly, embarrassed. Kane's stomach tightened. Wait, can I see you again? If you want. Martha hesitated, her eyes darting to the cafe door and then back to him. There was something in his gaze that made her pulse quicken, a strange sense of safety she hadn't felt in a long time. I'd like that, she whispered, almost afraid to break the spell. They exchanged numbers. A handshake lingered too long before turning into a brief, electric brush of fingers. The moment was fleeting but unforgettable. As Martha walked away, Kane watched her disappear into the city crowd. The rain had stopped, but a storm had begun in his chest. A storm of hope, fear, and something dangerous, anticipation. Neither of them knew it yet, but the sparks from this brief encounter were about to ignite a series of events that would change both of their lives forever. What do you think will happen next for Kane and Martha? Comment your predictions below. The next morning, Kane couldn't focus. Every glance at his tablet, every email, every spreadsheet blurred into insignificance. All he could see was Martha, her soaked coat, the way she laughed, the quiet vulnerability in her eyes. Across town, Martha sat at her desk, pretending to work. She kept replaying their encounter, the warmth of his smile, the strange pull she felt when their hands brushed. She had spent months shielding herself from unexpected emotions after a messy breakup, but Kane's presence had cracked her defenses in a single afternoon. Later that day, Kane decided to act. He sent a simple text. Coffee tomorrow? I promise I won't make you spill yours this time. Martha hesitated. She stared at her phone for a long moment, feeling a flutter of excitement she hadn't felt in years. Then, she typed back, Okay, 10 a.m., same cafe? The next morning, the cafe was quiet. Still early, sunlight barely filtering through the windows. Kane arrived first, ordering his usual black coffee, but his attention was elsewhere. When Martha arrived, carrying a book in one hand and a faint smile on her lips, Kane felt his chest tighten. They sat across from each other, but the conversation was different this time. They spoke about their childhoods, their dreams, fears, and ambitions. Kane noticed how her eyes lit up when she spoke of the charity she volunteered at. Martha noticed the way Kane's brow furrowed when he talked about his work, the pressure, and the loneliness that came with success. For the first time, their connection felt real, unlike any shallow encounters they had experienced before. The cafe felt like a world apart, a place where nothing else mattered. But life rarely allows bliss to remain uninterrupted. Kane's phone vibrated. A message from his assistant reminded him of a high-stakes business meeting he had tried to ignore. He glanced at Martha, guilt tugging at his chest. I need to step out for a moment," he murmured, eyes not leaving hers. Martha nodded, but her heart sank. Something about the hesitation, the fleeting look of conflict, made her uneasy. She knew he was hiding something, but she didn't know what. Minutes later, Kane returned, his expression softer, but the air between them had shifted. The spark was still there, but now shadowed by unspoken truths. As they stepped outside together, a sudden downpour began. Martha laughed nervously, and Kane offered his coat. They huddled under it, shoulders brushing, hearts beating faster than the rain. In that moment, everything felt possible. Everything felt real. Then, as they finally parted for the day, Kane felt a pang of dread. He knew he had to tell her the truth soon, but the timing had to be perfect. One wrong word and their fragile connection could shatter. Later that night, Martha received an anonymous email, a photo of her and Kane at the cafe, along with the message, "He's not who you think he is. Be careful." Her fingers trembled as she stared at the screen. Was it a prank or a warning? And who could know about their mourning? What do you think the email means? Will Martha confront Kane or run? Comment your thoughts below. The next morning, Martha couldn't focus. Every glance at her phone brought back the anonymous email. She remembered Kane's warm smile, the way his hand had brushed hers under the cafe coat. And yet, doubt gnawed at her. Could she really trust him? She arrived at work, but her mind kept replaying the warning. Who would send such a message? And why? The feeling of unease grew heavier with every hour. She tried to convince herself. Kane seemed genuine, kind, funny, but the seed of suspicion had been planted. Meanwhile, Kane sat in his apartment, scrolling through emails and reports, but his mind wasn't on work. He replayed their morning at the cafe. The way Martha laughed at his clumsy joke, the brush of her hand on his arm, and a pang of guilt struck him. He had been holding back something important, something that could change everything between them. Kane called her. She didn't answer. Text messages went unread. He debated, should he force honesty now or wait until the moment was right? Every minute she doubts me, the risk grows. Martha's heart raced as her phone vibrated again. She finally answered, her voice cautious. Kane, what's going on? Who sent that email? I don't know, he replied immediately, concern tightening his tone. I swear, I had no part in it. Martha sighed, conflicted. Then, why do I feel like you're hiding something from me? I'm not hiding anything from you, Kane said, desperation creeping in. But I am keeping parts of my life private. It's complicated, dangerous even, but I wanted to get to know you, Martha, without the chaos. The tension between them thickened. Martha clenched her fists under the table, fighting the urge to run. I don't know if I can. If I should trust you. I get it, Kane said softly. But I promise, I never intended to mislead you. I just wanted a chance to be seen as me, not as some headline or rich man. Despite his words, Martha couldn't shake the email from her mind. That unknown person had penetrated their bubble of budding trust. It wasn't just doubt about Kane. It was fear of betrayal, and the world she had worked so hard to control suddenly felt unstable. They tried to continue their day, but every interaction, every glance, was heavy with unspoken tension. Kane's longing eyes met Martha's guarded ones, each aware of the distance growing between them. Later, Kane invited her to a quiet park to talk. Martha hesitated but agreed. They sat on a bench, leaves rustling gently in the breeze, the air thick with both longing and anxiety. Martha, I don't want to lose this, Kane said, voice low, almost pleading. I know I can't erase the doubts, but I can't stop feeling this connection with you. Martha swallowed, her heart conflicted. I feel it too, but I don't know if that's enough. There's so much I don't know about you, Kane. And now, someone else is trying to scare me. He reached for her hand, but she hesitated. When their fingers brushed, it sent a spark, yet the fear lingered like a shadow between them. As they sat in tense silence, a figure in the distance snapped a photo. Kane's stomach sank when he realized someone was watching them. Martha didn't notice, smiling faintly, unaware of the eyes tracking her every move. Cliffhanger. Later that night, Kane received an encrypted message on his phone. "Stop her before she finds out everything, or you'll regret it." Kane's face turned pale. His secrets were closer to being exposed than ever, and Martha's safety, emotional or otherwise, was now on the line. Who do you think is behind the threats? Will Kane protect Martha, or will doubt tear them apart? Comment your theories below. The morning after the encrypted threat, Martha felt an unshakable unease. Her apartment, once a sanctuary, now felt exposed, vulnerable. She hesitated at her door, her hand trembling as she inserted the key. Someone is watching, someone knows. Kane, aware of the looming danger, insisted she stay with him. "It's temporary," he explained, his voice calm yet insistent. "Just until we figure out who's trying to manipulate us." Martha hesitated, pride warred with fear. I don't know if I can," she said softly, looking at her apartment door as if it could shield her from the world's chaos. "You won't be alone," Kane said, gently taking her hand. His touch was grounding, reassuring, and Martha felt a spark she hadn't expected. Hesitantly, she agreed. The drive to Kane's penthouse was quiet, the city passing in muted streaks through tinted windows. Martha kept her eyes on the skyline, attempting to anchor herself in something tangible, while Kane's presence beside her radiated warmth she wasn't ready to admit she needed. Once inside, Kane activated the security system, a sophisticated setup that monitored every possible entrance. "You're safe here," he said, his voice low. "For now, let's just focus on getting through today." Martha nodded, though her heart raced. The intimacy of being in his private world, the stark contrast between her ordinary life and his billionaire reality, was overwhelming. Every glance around the sleek apartment reminded her of the chasm between their worlds, but also of the growing connection she felt despite herself. They sat in the living room, a tension-filled silence surrounding them. Kane, sensing her apprehension, broke the quiet. "I know this is hard. It's not just about the threat. It's about trust, about being willing to let someone in." Martha looked up at him, her chest tightening. "I want to trust you, but my mind won't stop racing. What if someone wants to use me to get to you?" Kane reached out again, this time letting his hand rest lightly on hers. "Then we face it together. Whatever comes, we face it together." Hours passed with tentative conversations and cautious laughter. For the first time, Martha allowed herself to relax, if only slightly. She shared stories of her childhood, of challenges she'd overcome, while Kane listened intently, his gaze never leaving her face. He revealed snippets of his own life, mundane details, not the billionaire world he normally inhabited. As the afternoon sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, a sense of fragile normalcy settled over them. Martha realized that despite the danger, despite the threats, being near Kane felt safe. But safety, they both knew, was an illusion. Suddenly, the building's security alarm blared, a piercing warning that shattered their moment. Kane's head snapped toward the monitors. "They're here," he muttered, voice tight with urgency. Martha's heart pounded. She grabbed his arm instinctively. "What do we do?" "We hide," Kane said, leading her to a hidden safe room behind a sliding bookshelf. The room was cramped, but secure. Panic surged as footsteps echoed outside, and Kane drew her close. "Stay calm. I won't let anything happen to you," he whispered. Their closeness was electric. Martha felt the brush of his shoulder, the warmth of his chest against hers, and for a moment, the fear was overshadowed by the intensity of their connection. Minutes stretched like hours. Every sound outside made Martha flinch, but Kane remained a steady anchor. He held her hand, whispering reassurances, his eyes locked on hers. In the shared silence, unspoken feelings deepened, trust forming in the crucible of fear. But even as their bond strengthened, Danger lingered just beyond the walls. Kane's fingers tightened around hers. "We need to find out who's behind this," he said, his jaw clenched. "And fast. Because once they know you're with me, they won't stop." A shadow flickered across the security camera monitor. Someone inside the building. Kane's breath hitched. "They've gotten past the outer defenses." Martha's eyes widened. "We're trapped." Kane shook his head. "Not yet. But we need to be smart. And fast." "Who do you think infiltrated the building? Will Kane and Martha survive the threat and grow closer? Or will danger pull them apart? Comment your theories below and subscribe to Philia Heart. The hidden safe room was quiet, save for the hum of the ventilation and the occasional distant footstep. Martha sank onto a small leather chair, her hands still trembling from the adrenaline. Kane paced a few steps, then leaned against the wall, closing his eyes for a moment. "We can't stay here forever," Kane said finally, voice low but steady. "We need a plan. But first, I think it's time you understand why this is happening." Martha's brows knitted. "I already know it's about your money, your status. It's always about that with billionaires, isn't it?" Kane's eyes flashed with frustration. "It's never just about money. I've been through things you can't imagine, and some people, they're dangerous. But you," he said softer now, "you're the only reason I care about anyone outside my circle." Martha looked at him skeptically, but there was an edge of vulnerability in his eyes she hadn't seen before. "Then why didn't you tell me anything earlier?" He ran a hand through his hair. "Because I wanted you to like me. Not the billionaire part of me. I wanted you to see me first. And I failed to protect you from this reality. I see that now." Her chest tightened. Despite the fear, a small spark of warmth flared inside her. For the first time, she saw the human behind the face. Then Kane did something unexpected. He pulled out a small envelope from his coat pocket. "This," he said, handing it to her, "is something I should have shown you earlier, but it's part of who I am, and part of why I've been running." Martha hesitated before opening it. Inside was a collection of photos and documents, proof of threats, corporate espionage, and a note from someone she had never heard of. "Keep her safe. Don't let anyone use her." Her eyes widened. This is why you've been so secretive?" Kane nodded. "I've been trying to protect you without dragging you into my world. But now it's unavoidable. The people who want to manipulate me, they'll stop at nothing, and they'll use anyone close to me. You included." Martha's hands shook, gripping the papers. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be involved in your billionaire life." "You didn't ask for me?" Kane said quietly, stepping closer. "But somehow we found each other anyway. And now that you're here, I can't let you go through this alone." Martha swallowed hard, torn between fear and the undeniable pull she felt toward him. In the moments of silence that followed, she realized something. Despite the danger, she trusted him. And that trust, fragile as it was, felt like the only anchor she had in a storm she didn't understand. Then Kane shared something more personal. "Before you, I didn't know how to love someone who wasn't part of this world. I built walls, routines, defenses, everything to keep people out. But you," he said, voice thick with emotion, "you broke through them without even trying. And now, I can't imagine being without you." Martha's chest ached. "Kane?" she whispered, unsure if she could voice what she was feeling. He took her hand. "I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I hide things. I protect myself in ways that might seem cold. But I promise you, everything I do now, I do with you in mind." For the first time, Martha saw the layers behind his calm exterior. The fears, the regrets, the longing for connection. And she realized that in the middle of chaos, she was beginning to feel something she hadn't expected. Hope. But just as they started to breathe, a noise outside the safe room froze them. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. Someone was moving closer. Kane moved in front of Martha, eyes scanning every angle. "They found us," he whispered. Martha's heart pounded. "But how?" "We were careful." Kane's jaw tightened. "They always find a way." The door rattled slightly, testing the locks. A shadow moved beneath the crack, sending chills down Martha's spine. She clutched Kane's arm. "What do we do?" He met her gaze, steady and commanding. "We stay calm. We wait for the right moment. And then we act." The safe room felt smaller, more confining. Yet in that pressure, something unspoken deepened between them. Their hands intertwined, eyes locked. In the tension, trust was cemented, not just in survival but in each other. Suddenly, the intercom buzzed. A voice, distorted and sinister, filled the room. "Kane Rivers. You didn't think you could hide her from me forever, did you?" Martha's grip on Kane tightened. Fear and adrenaline surged through her, and Kane's expression darkened with determination. "Who do you think is behind this threat? Will Kane and Martha survive the danger and strengthen their bond? Or will secrets tear them apart? Comment your theories below." The safe room no longer felt quite as oppressive. The distant footsteps and the occasional rattling of the door reminded them danger was near. Yet Kane and Martha had settled into an uneasy rhythm. Kane sat against the wall, letting out a long breath, while Martha perched on the small leather chair, her eyes fixed on him. "You're calm," she said, almost incredulously. Kane's lips curved into a small, tired smile. "I've had to learn," he replied. "In my world, panic doesn't save anyone. You have to be strategic, even when your heart wants to scream." Martha nodded slowly. She had always been the type to react emotionally, to trust her gut. But now, sitting beside him, she felt something else. A fragile sense of safety. Kane's presence wasn't just protective. It was grounding. For the first time, they allowed a moment of levity. Kane pulled a small, slightly crumpled pack of cards from his coat pocket. "I know this seems silly, but it helps me think. When things feel out of control, I play solitaire." Martha couldn't help a small laugh. "Solitaire? Really? Really?" Kane said, dealing the cards with practiced fingers. "It's a reminder, even in chaos, some order can exist." She leaned closer, intrigued despite herself. "Teach me." For a while, the world outside the safe room didn't exist. They played quietly, fingers brushing occasionally, smiles tugging at their lips despite the tension in the air. In that small game, a delicate bond began to form, trust mixed with something deeper. After the game, Kane's tone softened. "Martha, I need to tell you something. Not about threats or danger, but about me." Her heart skipped. "Go on," he exhaled. "I've never let anyone in like this. Not really. My life has always been about control, about keeping people at arm's length. But you've changed that. Being with you, even for a moment, has shown me that I can actually feel without being afraid of the consequences." Martha's throat tightened. "Kane." He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I know it's fast, and I know it's chaotic, but I trust you, and I like you more than I can put into words." Her eyes filled, warmth spreading through her chest. She reached for his hand. "I trust you too. Even with all this danger, I feel like I can." For a few minutes, they simply sat there, hands entwined, hearts racing but at peace together. Humor, warmth, and tenderness infused the room, providing a brief sanctuary from the looming threats outside. Then, Kane's expression darkened. "Martha, I don't want to scare you, but we can't ignore the reality. Whoever's after me isn't going to stop. And if they know you're here, they could use you as leverage." She nodded, fear and determination mingling. "Then we face it together." He smiled faintly, grateful for her courage. "Together," he agreed. But just as they began to feel a fragile hope, a sharp noise erupted from the door. A metallic click followed by a sudden light outside the peephole. Kane and Martha froze. Kane whispered, "They're trying to get in now." Martha's pulse quickened. "What do we do?" Kane's jaw tightened. "We stay close. We don't panic. And we fight smart." The door rattled violently. The shadow of a figure appeared through the frosted glass. Martha clutched Kane's arm. "Kane, they're coming for us." Kane's eyes met hers, steady and resolute. "I won't let anything happen to you. Not now, not ever." A heavy knock sounded, followed by a distorted voice from the other side. Kane Rivers? Hand her over, and maybe I'll let you walk out alive. Martha's grip on Kane tightened. Fear surged, but so did an unexpected resolve. In that moment, they both realized their bond had grown strong enough to face the storm together. Who do you think is behind this threat? Will Kane and Martha survive the night and strengthen their bond? Or will secrets tear them apart? Comment your theories below. The door shook violently, the distorted voice outside repeating the demand. Kane's mind raced, every muscle tensed. He whispered, Martha, stay behind me. No sudden moves. Martha's heart pounded, but she didn't move. She trusted him, yet the fear gnawed at her. For the first time, she realized that love didn't always shield you. It could also make you vulnerable. Suddenly, the lock clicked. Kane yanked Martha behind him as the door burst open. Two masked figures stormed in, weapons drawn. Kane's training kicked in, he ducked, grabbed the nearest object, and swung it. Chaos erupted. Martha froze, torn between helping and fleeing. She saw Kane struggle, and in that instant, her fear transformed into a desperate determination. Kane! She yelled, rushing forward. One of the intruders aimed at Kane, but before they could fire, Martha grabbed a heavy chair and swung it with all her strength. The figure went down with a grunt. Kane barely had time to register her bravery before the second intruder lunged. Kane tackled him to the ground, fists colliding. The struggle was brutal, hearts pounding, breath ragged. Martha screamed, a raw, terrified sound, as Kane finally pinned the attacker. But the chaos wasn't over. Through the chaos, a third figure emerged from the shadows, someone Kane recognized immediately. His blood ran cold. It's someone from the company, he whispered, disbelief in his voice. Martha's eyes widened. What? Who? Before Kane could answer, the intruder struck a heavy blow to Kane's side. He stumbled, pain flaring. Martha grabbed his arm. No! Kane! Kane looked at her, pain and fear etched across his face. Go hide now, he gasped. But Martha refused. I'm not leaving you, she shouted, determination flaring. She grabbed a nearby lamp and swung, striking the intruder's head. The figure went down, but the room was a mess. Broken furniture, scattered papers, shattered glass. Kane, gritting his teeth, managed to grab Martha's hand. We need to move. Now. They bolted toward the back door, adrenaline surging. Just as they reached it, another figure blocked their escape. A shadowed figure Kane had never anticipated. The room went silent for a heartbeat, tension slicing the air. Kane's mind raced. This wasn't just a random attack. It was orchestrated. Someone wanted him, and now Martha out of the way. Martha's breath came in short gasps. Who is this? Kane's jaw tightened. Someone I trusted. His eyes filled with a mix of anger and disbelief. And I misjudged them. The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing a cold, familiar face from Kane's professional circle. Betrayal hit like a hammer. Martha's stomach sank. Kane had been right. Love and danger were inseparable. Suddenly, the intruder lunged. Kane shoved Martha to the floor, taking the hit himself. Pain seared through him and he dropped to one knee, but he didn't let go of her hand. Martha's eyes filled with tears, fear and anger intertwining. You trusted them? She whispered, voice shaking. Kane looked at her, his expression pained. I thought I could protect you from everything, even this. The intruder stepped closer, but before they could strike again, the distant sound of sirens wailed outside. Reinforcements Kane had called in earlier. The intruder froze, panic flickering in their eyes. Kane pulled Martha close. We're not safe yet, but we're not alone. Martha's lips trembled as she whispered, Kane, I don't want to lose you. He held her tighter. You won't, I promise. The intruder made one last desperate lunge, but the sirens grew louder, flashing lights filling the room. Reinforcements stormed in, and the assailants were quickly subdued. Kane and Martha stood in the wreckage of the room, bodies bruised, clothes torn, hearts racing. Silence fell except for the distant echo of police radios. Martha turned to Cain, eyes wide. That was too close. I thought we were done for. Cain brushed a strand of hair from her face, holding her gaze. We've survived because we're together. But I need you to understand. The danger isn't over. This was only the beginning. Martha swallowed hard, nodding. Then we face it. Together. Cain's jaw tightened. He looked around at the chaos. The broken furniture, the shattered glass, the mess of betrayal, and realized trust had been tested, love had been challenged, and they had barely survived. And yet, even in the darkest moment, their bond had never felt stronger. From the shattered window, a figure observed them silently, a shadow against the city lights, a whisper of danger yet to come. You think you're safe, but the real game has just begun. Who do you think is behind the betrayal? Will Cain and Martha overcome this new threat? Or is their love doomed? Comment your theories below and subscribe to Philia Heart to witness Act 8. The ultimate choice awaits. The night outside was eerily quiet, but inside the safe house, Cain and Martha felt every heartbeat as if it echoed through the walls. The chaos of the attack still lingered in their minds, the adrenaline slowly giving way to exhaustion and fear. Cain paced the room, jaw tight, running his fingers through his hair. Martha, I need to know something. Can you trust me? Not just tonight, not just for the danger, but for everything I am. Martha's hands trembled as she clutched the edge of the table. Her mind replayed the horrors of the night, the intruders, the betrayal, the narrow escapes. And yet, she couldn't deny the way her heart had refused to leave Cain's side. Cain, I don't know, she admitted, voice cracking. I want to, but I'm scared. Scared of what could happen. Scared of losing you, or us. He stopped pacing and turned to face her, eyes glinting with a mix of desperation and resolve. Martha, love isn't just about feeling safe. It's about choosing to be brave, even when everything else is uncertain. I've chosen you countless times. Will you choose me? Her breath hitched. The weight of the question pressed down on her like gravity. Could she risk everything for love? Could she risk herself, her heart, for someone whose world was so dangerous, so unpredictable? Memories flooded her mind. The first time they had met, his shy smile, the warmth of his hand when they had held it by accident, the trust that had grown between them. And tonight, the terror, the adrenaline, the way he had shielded her without a second thought. She swallowed hard and met his gaze. Cain, I don't know if I'm ready to face all of it. The danger, the enemies, the unknown. He stepped closer, gently cupping her face in his hands. Martha, listen to me. I'm not asking you to face it alone. I'm asking you to face it with me. Together. I promise you, I'll never let go. Tears blurred her vision. Her chest tightened. Her mind screamed caution. But her heart whispered truth. She had already faced the worst night of her life, and she hadn't left him. That was the choice she had made instinctively. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. Okay, Cain, I choose us. I choose you. No matter what comes, I won't run this time. A faint, relieved smile curved his lips. He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her as if to shield her from the entire world. Martha felt the tension drain from her shoulders, replaced by a trembling, tentative hope. But the moment of peace was fragile. From the small window of the safe house, a shadow flickered, a movement just beyond the trees. Cain stiffened, sensing the same danger that had nearly claimed them hours before. Martha's grip on him tightened. Cain, they're still out there. He nodded, determination hardening his features. I know. But now we're not afraid. Not together. The rest of the night was tense and quiet, punctuated only by the distant hum of the city and the occasional sound of the wind rustling through the trees. Cain and Martha sat side by side, hands intertwined, hearts synchronized. Their choice was made. They had chosen love over fear, trust over hesitation. And yet, outside, the shadows were patient. They waited, watching, calculating, Threats they hadn't yet faced were still lingering in the darkness. Suddenly, a faint ping from Cain's phone broke the silence. A message. One line. One word. "I know where she is." Cain's face hardened. Martha's heart skipped. Danger wasn't over. Their love had been tested, but the real battle was just beginning. Do you think Cain and Martha can survive this new threat? Who is behind this ominous message? Comment your theories below. The first light of dawn crept across the sky, painting the world in muted gold. Inside the safe house, Cain and Martha huddled together, exhausted but unbroken. The ominous message from last night had haunted them, and yet they had faced it side by side. Cain's phone buzzed again, but this time, it was a call from an unknown number. He answered cautiously. "Mr. Cain," a distorted voice said, "you have until sundown. Bring her alone, or the consequences will be irreversible." Martha flinched, but Cain gripped her hand. "We've been through worse. Together," he whispered. They had no choice but to face it. Leaving the safe house, they moved with calculated steps, using back alleys and hidden routes. Every corner, every shadow, made their hearts pound, but they clung to each other, their love a shield stronger than any danger outside. Finally, they arrived at the abandoned warehouse, the location of the final showdown. Inside, the air was thick with tension. A figure stepped out of the shadows, revealing the person orchestrating the threats all along. Someone from Cain's past. Someone who had envied his fortune and sought revenge. "You shouldn't have come," the antagonist sneered, glancing at Martha. "This ends here." Cain positioned himself in front of Martha, defiance burning in his eyes. "No, this ends when we decide it ends. Not by fear. Not by you." Martha, her courage bolstered by her love for Cain, stepped forward. "We aren't afraid of you. Not anymore." A tense standoff ensued. Then, in a calculated move, Cain used his knowledge of the warehouse and distractions he had prepared earlier, turning the tables. Security guards, who had been monitoring the situation remotely, intervened just in time. The antagonist was restrained, their threat neutralized. Breathing heavily, Cain turned to Martha. "Are you okay?" Tears streamed down her face. Relief, gratitude, and unspoken love poured out. "I am, because you're here, because we're here, together." Cain pulled her into a tight embrace, whispering against her hair, "We made it. No matter what comes next, we survive. We live, and we love." They stepped outside, the rising sun bathing them in light. It was more than just a physical dawn. It was symbolic of their new beginning. The trials, the fear, the near loss, they had endured it all, and their bond had only grown stronger. Martha smiled up at Cain, her hand slipping into his. "You know, I never imagined love could be this powerful." Cain grinned, his eyes reflecting both mischief and deep affection. "Sometimes love finds you when you least expect it, and it changes everything." They walked away from the warehouse, side by side, stronger and more united than ever. Whatever challenges awaited them, they would face them together, fearless, unshakable, in love. As they reached the street, Cain's phone buzzed again. He checked it, expecting another threat, but instead, it was a simple message from a friend. "The world just witnessed the strength of your love. Now go live it fully." Cain looked at Martha. "No more shadows, no more secrets, just us." Martha laughed softly, tears of joy in her eyes. Just us. The city around them seemed brighter, alive with possibility. And for the first time in a long time, they felt truly free. What do you think of Cain and Martha's journey? Did love truly conquer all? Comment your thoughts below, and make sure to subscribe to Philia Heart for more billionaire love stories and unexpected twists.